In this video, I'm going to show you how to make rupees in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So, there's other ways you can do it. There's crazy ways. There's duplication exploits. If you want to know that, I'll link that in the description of this video somewhere. But in this video, I'm just going to be covering how to make rupees fast without the hardcore dupe cheating or anything crazy like that. So if you're coming here just trying to figure out normal ways to make rupees, or you're like, how do I get rupees? Want to move on to your life, don't want to do crazy cheats or something, then that's this video. So in order to make rupees, the most basic way to make them is by selling things. So you can go to Lookout Landing, the first town in the entire game. There's this person right here on the east side of town. You talk to her, and you say, buy my stuff. Now, the only things that she'll buy are armor, she'll buy materials, and she'll buy cooked items. Now, generally speaking, the best way to make money, if you're just doing it generically, is going to be by cooking things and then selling things. So it's really going to revolve around how can we get a ton of cooking materials fast and then cook them up really fast into things that are worth money. But there are some things and materials you can make money from, like rubies, sapphires, any kind of gemstone like that, star fragments, diamonds. Those are mainly the big things that you can make money from for just basic materials. So really, the choices are going to be, are you going to be a miner or are you going to be a gatherer? That's really kind of like, not that there are professions in this game, but if there were, those would be the two money-making professions. So let's cover mining real fast because it's a much shorter and simpler one. All you gotta do is just find caves that you like that have resources that you want to mine. For example, all the way over here on the map, I love this place, the Ikatak Shrine, and you drop in a hole right here on the ground in this crater. And there's a bunch of stuff in here that you can mine up. You break the stuff like this, and it'll have amber in it, it'll have gems in it, there's a bunch of random things you can find. So just find caves that you like, keep track of where they are, and these things will respawn every hour or two. So you literally just come here every hour or two, and you mine all the different ores inside of the caves, and then repeat every hour or two. So that's one way to make money. That's if you want to do mining. It's not the greatest way, but it can be fun. It can be really fun to do it if you like that kind of thing. But what's better than that is going to be elixirs. Although there also are other random things. Like you'll randomly find these guys in the world. They'll spawn in the same places. They respawn every blood moon or something like that. And you can try to do a ton of damage to them in order to get them to drop rupees. Now, I don't know if I even hit that guy, but if you hit them, they'll drop rupees. And the more damage you do, the more rupees they'll drop. There's random things like that. There's also things you can do. This one's a really fun one. You can go to here on the map, the Sahasra Slope Skyview Tower over here. And there's multiple caves like this. And what you can do is you can go over to this one. And I'm going to put on a much weaker bow, one that doesn't triple shot, because I'll probably end up killing myself on accident in this game if I don't. So I can go up to this one. I can get a bomb flower ready. And there's a bunch of Kese that come out of here, and they respawn like anything else. And you can just immediately bomb them like that. And then you can get all these monster parts, and you can make elixirs with them. So that's another fun thing you can do for money. You can do stuff like that. You can get creative. You can just track down different resources like this that you like to farm, and then farm them every hour or two when they respawn. But if you really want to make the big bucks in this game, what you're going to want to do is get a car. Because getting a car can make you a ton of money. So in order to get a car, what you're going to need to do is take Skyview Towers in order to get up in the sky so you can find device dispensers. So for example, there's one up here, the Typhlo Ruins. You can get to this device dispenser that has a steering stick, which you would need for a car. You can also find one of them in the depths. It's the only one I know of in the depths, actually. You can go over to, there's a hole in the ground over by the Poplar Foothills Skyview Tower. It's right here. And it'll drop you out right here. And then you can wrap around over to this place. And then there's a building here, and inside of it is a device dispenser with all the parts you need for a car. A steering stick, big wheels, and small wheels. The only thing you're going to be missing is a platform, but you can use a piece of wood. Or if you want to go to another device dispenser somewhere, you can eventually find one that has a cart. And with a cart, you'll be able to make a wheel. But we just need small wheels, and we need something to build on, and we need a steering stick. You can also use sleds. So what we're going to do now, and also you can just find the things on the side of the roads where there's random materials like pieces of wood and stuff, and use that as your base for your car too. Also, you can get auto build by falling in a hole right here on the map, and then going over here to the Great Abandoned Central Mine and doing a quest there in order to get auto build. Also very helpful for spawning your car. Highly recommend doing that. So in order to build a car, it's pretty straightforward, and then I'll explain why cars make so much money in this game. So pretty simple stuff. I'll just throw down a cart, and then we'll throw down the small wheels specifically. You want the small wheel car. Put down 4 wheels, and this is a basic car. You can make your own car design, whichever way you want to make it. So we'll put down those, put down a steering stick, and that's literally all we need to make a car. So what we'll do is we'll pull out this, and then we'll take a wheel, and we will lay it on the ground so that we can get this up off the ground, and then we'll lay this on top of the wheel, and now we can Now that it's anchored, we can put these wheels on. Now, wheels have a way they go forward and backward. These ones are pretty straightforward. The face is the front direction. So we're just going to take this, and we're going to attach it really low to the ground up by the front. And then we're going to take another one, and we're going to attach it really low to the ground up by the front as well. And then we're going to take one, and we're going to put it in the back, doing the same thing. Something like that. And then take this one out from underneath now that we have wheels on, and then we pop this on in the back as well. And then you take a steering stick, and then you put this just somewhere on it. And now you have a small car. And with this, you can make an insane amount of money. So how do we make money with a small car? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to go to Central Hyrule. Now, this car is extremely fast, and even if you don't have a lot of battery, it doesn't really drain much battery. And so the way cars work, if you don't know, you hold backwards and you'll go in reverse. You hold nothing and you'll go forward. And if you hold forward, you'll go extra fast. Now, with the car with small wheels, this is very, very fast that you'll be able to go. So in order to make a crazy amount of money, we need cooking ingredients. So the best thing to do is go here to the Hyrule Plains, like all just around here, and just drive around from object to object, to place, to forest cluster, and you'll be able to randomly find ingredients everywhere that you go. So we can stop over at here, for example, and then here's 3 random foods. So we'll just stop like that. We'll grab the food from it, and then we'll get off and we'll get back on the car. Also, if we see animals, which I don't know if we can see them when it's raining. You might not want to do this when it's raining. It's kind of hard to see in the rain. But if we do see animals, here's a fox. We can just run the fox over with this car. So we can just line it up, hit the fox, jump off, grab the meat. Meat's extremely valuable in this game. Basically, think of it this way. Every time that you find one meat, you basically find maybe 15 to 25 rupees. So we stop here, we can grab a mushroom, and you're just going to keep on repeating this process. And just think of it that everything you pick up is worth somewhere between 7 and 15 rupees, depending on what it is in most cases. And you can try doing this in other places as well. You don't have to do it just at the Hyrule Plains. You can do it wherever you want. You could also use your bow while doing this in order to do things like shooting boars. You don't actually have to try to run the car over them, depending on the scenario. And the reason I picked that scenario specifically to shoot the boar is because it's kind of hard to navigate a forest in the small car because it can't turn very well. Also, I don't really know what the hell just happened there, but my tire just exploded. That was really weird. But even with 3 wheels, this thing drives actually just fine. So you don't really have to worry too much, but it would be smart for me to pop that wheel back on at some point. But yeah, so you'll just drive around looking for resources and grabbing things whenever you see them, and you'll just make a ton of money doing this. This is probably the best way to make money. This really is like the best way to make money that I found outside of using duplication exploits and things like that. So just run off, grab things, and get back on your car. And it's also really, really, really fun to do this, in my opinion. But the ingredients aren't good enough by themselves. Like I mentioned before, we got to cook things with them. And the best way to do that is to go to Lookout Landing Skyview Tower, and then walk over to the center where there's the emergency shelter. If it's not unlocked, talk to the guy near it, and then it'll open up the door for it. And then head over here to this cooking pot. This is the most convenient place to cook. You'll go to your materials, and you'll pick things to cook. You'll press A and then press hold, put them in your hands, and you'll pick random things and combine them into foods. Now, one of the things I like to make a lot is take 2 meats and then also add in other things. You'll back out of it, press cook, and don't forget to press X to skip. It'll save you a ton of time. But if you add 2 meat to a meal, it often gives it a ton of hearts and makes it worth more money. But not always the case depending on what you put into your meal. So at this point, you're just going to pick random things that will actually cook into food and then put them together. And I wouldn't worry too much about the details. So you might worry like, well, what recipe will make more money? I've done this a ton, and from my experience, in general, what you put in is what you get out. Like, there's a little bit of control over it, but it's not worth wasting your time. Maybe you can find a combo where instead of getting something worth 35 rupees, it's worth 40 or something like that with roughly the same ingredients. But it generally doesn't even work out that way. It generally just works out that any ingredient basically gets doubled in rupee price by cooking it into something. Also, there are elixirs we talked about. Now, elixirs are a pretty straightforward process. You're going to, whenever you see critters, you're going to pick them up. Now, critters, depending on what they are, you can either run up and grab them, or in some cases, you have to crouch walk up to them to grab them. One of the easiest ones to find is deep fireflies, and you can find these down in the depths. And when you find a good spawn of them, just mark it on your map and remember, and come back every hour or two and grab another 10 of them or something like that. And then you can easily make it. All you need in order to make an elixir is 1 critter, and then after that, you just need generic monster parts. So I could use these blue moblin horns, for example. In theory, at least. Sometimes they don't work, but there we go. And I have a bright elixir, and I can sell that for money. And I can go down here, I take another critter, like a restless cricket, and then I could combine it with Frog's fingernails or something. And then throw that in, and now we have an energizing elixir that's honestly terrible, though, but hey. So you can also do that in order to make elixirs, and those are also worth a decent amount of money. Once you're done cooking things up and getting everything ready, then you'll go over to this person again on the east side of Lookout Landing and tell this person to buy your stuff. And then head over to your cooking ingredients, and you'll be able to see all the stuff you cooked. Holy crap, that energizing elixir was worth 291. So if you use really rare monster parts in your elixirs, it'll make it worth a ton of money because, like I said, what you put in is what you get out. So I put in 4 Frog's fingernails, which was worth 4 times 40, which is 160, and this ended up being worth 291. So it basically multiplied it by like 1.7 or something like that. The cricket was worth 2. These were worth 40, so it's 162, and it ended up being slightly less than double. And that's kind of just how it works out. Like, basically what you put in is what you get out. So don't worry too much about it. Just throw things in to make sure it doesn't turn into a dubious food. Or, yeah, dubious food's the only one you can get, but make sure it doesn't turn into dubious food. Just throw your ingredients together, and then go over here, and then sell your ingredients in order to make a ton of money. And that's really going to be, like, the go-to way to do it. Which then brings me to the other point of not only the car thing, but you can also farm enemies way later on when you have strong weapons. I wouldn't bother with farming enemies until you have strong weapons, because if you have weak weapons, you're only going to kill enemies that are really weak, and then the elixirs you make from them aren't going to be worth a lot. Other than the Kese thing I showed you. If you find enough caves with Keses, you can just go to all of them and get like 100 Kese eyeballs and Kese wings, and then you see a bunch of critters, and even though it's not worth a ton, you just got them so fast that, you know, it ends up being worth a lot anyway. And if you do all that, you should be able to make thousands and thousands and thousands of rupees every hour. More than 10,000 maybe. I don't even know. I haven't crunched the numbers on it, but I've done it a lot before before doing the duplication exploit. And it makes the most money out of pretty much anything. Is killing rare enemies and then just running around grabbing food. Those are like the 2 main things long term to make a ton of rupees in this game. Finally, there's also a mini game you can play way later on. You can go to this island down here, do all the stuff on the island, and eventually up on this rock by using ascend on the mast of a ship over there hidden inside of a cave. You can get up on top of this island, or by using Zonai devices to fly up there. And there's people here, you can do this gliding minigame, and if every time you land in the main circle, you get like 100 rupees. And I have a whole video on that somewhere in the description of this video if you want to check that out. And then there's also a duplication exploit, also in the description of this video somewhere with all the billions of links I have down there if you want to check that out. But that is how to make rupees in this game. So if you're just looking for a crash course, the basics of how to make good rupees in this game with the normal standard gameplay mechanics, well, this video will definitely have helped you out then. Now you know how to make a lot of rupees in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.